1980, you know, so please be aware that there are changes to the way we use it and that we manage it. And the key message for all safety professionals is seek advice. You know, if you're unsure, let's go and search for that particular moment. Because don't forget that, you know, when we look at, you know, ASSP as a group, it's phenomenal the work what you do, but you must have a direction, I think, in terms of finding the correct steps if you're going to use a powered access machine at height, because there's a lot of hazards and frustrations which can be at the project, I think, on a weekly basis. So just a few of the major stakeholders who's involved. As we're a federation of safety, we do fall under the umbrella of not-for-profit. So we got nothing to sell other than safety. Okay, we live the same as ASSP by membership. That's how we breathe. I'm really proud to be involved with IPAF. I've been teaching IPAF courses since 1996, which monitors then instructors to help instructors on their journey and professionally develop them as teachers. But our real stakeholders are certainly manufacturers. We focus on the operators, we have the contractors, and certainly the rental companies and owners of equipment. The same as you know, a lot of institutions and federations and so on and chapters, we focus on accidents, and obviously our prime is to reduce accidents without a shadow of a doubt. And when we got to reduce accidents, there's a lot of factors involved with accidents. This is kind of a trend analysis. Falling from the platform has never gone away. Overturn has never gone away. Electrocution has never gone away. Certainly entrapment. Being hit by another vehicle whilst you're elevated. So think of your projects where you're using this type of equipment, and mechanical or technical failure. In the Middle East, we generally see machines catch fire at the engine. So that means that the platform is elevated. Now, these lifters reach, the boom types are over 180 feet now. You know, you can get a scissor to take you over 100 feet. So if you've got an incident of a mechanical failure at the ground and you're elevated, then you need to have a plan. And your plan needs to certainly bring the people down safely, meaning that the workforce or the operators. So we've been following accident trends since 2010, and we continue to observe accident trends. Now, I'm not sure if this video is going to work, guys, so we will try. If it works, we will say happy days, but we will try. So please let me know if you can hear the video.
Yes, sir, it's working.
Perfect. This gives me a chance to stop talking, maybe.
No, there is no audio, please. You didn't share audio, it seems, Mr. Jason.
Okay.
Just stop and start again. Stop the sharing and select the options which we discussed. Clear again by selecting those options.
Yeah. Is that better?
He was thrashing about everywhere.
Perfect.
And
okay.
So his partner said, could I hold him down onto this pad because he was thrashing everywhere and his head would have been banging the road.
He wasn't making any sense. He was just screaming, non-stop screaming.
I don't know how many of us there were trying to hold him, and the strength of him thrashing about. I've never seen anything like it.
I honestly thought at any second Kev was about to die. I didn't think he was going to last.
In that short time, you get very sort of attached to someone because he's someone's son, isn't he? Or husband or whatever at the end of the day. He's someone's son, and he was in a dreadful state.
Whilst I was driving there, things were going through my mind. Well, what happened? How serious is it? I was driving down this lane, and at that point I saw the ambulance with its blue lights on coming in opposite direction. At that point I knew that this was pretty serious. When I got to site, Steve was standing there by himself, looking lost and not knowing what to do. And then he came over to me with a mobile phone, and it was Kevin's mobile phone, and the name on it was his wife. I took the call, and I had to explain to her that Kevin had quite a serious accident and been taken to hospital, and she needed to make her way there as quick as she could. I got to hospital and I went into the family room where Kevin's wife and daughter were sitting there, very upset. I asked how Kevin was, and they turned around and said that they'd been told to expect the worst.
The first I heard of it was when Steve telephoned me. He sounded very shook up. I was immediately very shocked at what happened, very concerned. Later that evening, Steve came home, could see how upset he was. And then he mentioned that questions would be asked at work. And from my point of view, I was concerned that he would lose his job, and how would we manage? We're a family. I only work part-time. He was the main breadwinner. We knew we couldn't survive. That went on for a long time. A lot of sleepless nights, just constant worry.
And I didn't go out that day anticipating any of this could happen. On the contrary, we were just trying to do what was right for the customer. We just got too close on the day.
Okay, so I'll continue now, guys. Everybody can still hear me okay?
Yes, it was clear. Yes.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so just, certainly delving into this, the story was around the platform being used very close to electric power cables on steel pylons, and the contractor didn't judge themselves enough distances between the power cables and the work platform. So, when we talk about safety management, I think it's very important that we do have a plan, regardless of what our projects or tasks are. But we must make sure that we cover all angles to minimize this. This type of accident can be avoided, and it's just a case of planning. You'll see on the right of the screen that we do have a training module dedicated to managers, HSE professionals, and a lot of the course material, is certainly it's dedicated and designed to help the HSE professionals. There's two ways the course can be delivered, either through instructor-led, or if you would prefer to take an e-learning module, it's very interactive and very challenging. There's a lot of quizzes and live questions and an exam at the end. So even the online version is very powerful also. Taking the sidestep now, and it's back to you guys, you know, this is typically something which you have to deal with as a safety professional. And this is way before the machines really arrive at your projects. If we talk about white paper documents, you know, that could be a number of things, including the operator's manual, the third-party certificate for the machine. An interesting one, here's, you know, the machines which are arriving on the project. Have we ventured in identifying if there's been any safety bulletins around that particular brand and model from the manufacturer? If there is any safety bulletins, have the or the issues been rectified, and have they been covered from the supplier? So very interesting, and I think it can easily get slipped in terms of you know, the white paper document. Risk assessments, when do they stop? They never stop. We should put a revision on it, focus on the trend analysis, and monitor the workforce. Some of our projects in the Middle East, if I use Abu Dhabi Airport Midfield Terminal, we had over 900 machines on site, you know, of different weights, different heights, and so on. So you can imagine, you know, the emphasis on safety was massive. And some of the big lifters was on that project also. Certainly focus on the trend analysis, and if there seems to be a trend of a particular thing going wrong, then, you know, how can we change it? Do we turn it into a toolbox talk? If we're going to go down the toolbox talk, then where do we collect our data for the delivery of the toolbox talk? I think we've got to also, you know, never take away the training aspect as well. As we all know, that there's a million different training providers in the Middle East, and I think that what we really need to identify is that the person needs to be competent at the end of it. I have a very straightforward philosophy that, you know, surely if you do not know on how to bring the platform back down safely, regardless whether it's in operational or in emergency, then surely you shouldn't lift the platform in the first place. But that should really be covered through training, which then relates then back to competency for the operator. You can see what's highlighted in red. That's the kind of hazards which gives you guys headaches. Certainly focused on the height, the weight of the machine. I'm not sure if you're aware of the weights. We have around, or machines now weighing more than 25 ton, buzzing around Kuwait, Qatar, UAE, Saudi Arabia. We have to focus on the slope, the ground. Is it uneven? Location, what's the access like? Is it near a public place? Is it a construction project? Obviously, we're back to the operator. Is he familiarized with that particular equipment? And what is your inspection process, or what is your plan for the inspection process? Because don't forget, you know, I could highlight something quite quickly here. We call it emergency descent. So it means that if a platform is stuck in the elevated position, there is two systems which we're able to bring the platform down safely if the normal controls are not working. So one is from the hydraulic system, which is great. But secondly is from the auxiliary system, which is the normal control panels. Could be in the platform whilst you're elevated, or it could be at the ground position. But naturally, you're relying on the battery to give you that power source now. So if you don't have an inspection process and you rely on an auxiliary system for an emergency lowering on the project, then, you know, if it's not in good working order, you're just waiting for a real accident to really happen. Many sites have a delivery and collection zone. So when the machines come into the project, they're inspected as they've just been offloaded from the rental company. So like I say, you know, the terminology for risk assessment, risk management, I think that it never goes away, and it continues to be a revision. Maybe you don't change things, maybe you don't have to change things. But I think as safety professionals, it's very important that we analyze, you know, and assess, is there a potential risk of something going wrong? So when we focus on aerial work platforms, they have many different industry names. People call them man lifts, man lifters, boom lifts, cherry pickers, flying carpets. I've even seen workstations. But in the nuts and bolts of it, the machine is manufactured by the manufacturer to a standard. How we divide the machine is, it depends how the machine lifts away from the chassis. So if the platform stays inside the tipping lines of the chassis, then that means that it's a vertical lift. This one, for example, on the picture, which you can see, it's a boom lift. So naturally it's designed for the platform to come away from the platform, from the chassis. So that then takes it into a B category, which falls as a boom type machine. But as you can see, in terms of our images, we have different types and different designs of lifters, but they are categorized like your driving license. You know, if you're going to drive a motorcycle, you certainly wouldn't need to have a heavy goods license, because the motorcycle is a totally different drive. There's always a big question in amongst the divide between lifting equipment. So I think that where the divide always comes in is, if you imagine cranes are dedicated to lift materials, granted, but as you see on the text there, it's controlled by an operator who is not part of the load. So that means that the guy or the operator could be in his platform, in his cab, for an example. Whereas when we look at the elevator work platforms, it's slightly different, because the human body is actually inside the platform as he's maneuvering from A to B. And as I say, it depends what type of machine and category we have, and that then relates then back to the license. But, you know, working at heights is certainly a serious issue. And I think it's very important that we do focus as safety professionals. You know, they're never always small heights. Sometimes they're great tall heights, let's call them. And it's never a straightforward lift, as you can see on the images. Sometimes we have confined space at height, which then it takes a skilled operator and a manager to actually, you know, maneuver the platform into a safe zone then. So I'll just briefly touch on this, guys. There's a lot of this information you can filter back and forth to the IPAF website. We have a category poster, so we have two things. One is category and one is type. Okay, so if you look at the figure number 1, that is what we call a type. Okay, and number 3 is a type. So for an example, if you see a machine which becomes static and it lifts, it falls under the type 1. If it's a vertical lift, it's an A. Okay, so if it becomes a static machine to lift, it falls under the type 1. If the lifting element becomes a vertical lift, it then becomes an A category. Okay, and if we turn to the number 3, again, the type is 3, so then that turns to a mobile platform. So it means that you can travel at height. Doesn't mean that you can actually travel at full height always. Sometimes you may have to reduce the height before you can drive it. Now, we would expect to see some limit switches involved at these kind of heights, and it would be important then that the limit switch is your safety device. So you're not going to drive a machine too tall, if that makes sense. So a 3 category means that the machine is mobile, and the B category means that the lifting element comes away from the chassis. As I say, I'm not going to delve too deep into that, but I'm sure that most of you who's on this call will certainly use a 3A and a 3B machine. They're probably the most popular machines which you'll see in the worksite. However, you will see some 1Bs floating around also. But the majority would be 3B, 3A, 1B. So let's focus then in terms of, you know, the specifications, because as a safety professional, when we're analysing what type of machines we should be having on our project, we should also, you know, I know the rental companies can come and help you, but you should have knowledge also, I think, as a safety professional. So I'll give you an example here. We're using a Genie brand. So GS stands for Genie Scissor, okay? The 1930 means that we're 19 feet high and 30 inches wide of the platform, okay, or the chassis, sorry, okay. If we go to the GS 5390, it would then take us 53 feet high, with the chassis width then sitting in at 90 inches. The terminology for RT is rough terrain, so that would generally mean that if you're driving over uneven ground, for an example, okay, whereas the GS19 would be a slab scissor, so that would mean that it's indicating towards a solid ground. Some of the slab scissors will be an indoor machine only. Now you'd expect to see some decals on the machine, or certainly the operators or the manufacturing data plate would give you that information. DC would be directly powered as a current, so that could be plugged in, okay? Or you might find that we will have a hybrid, which would be a bi-energy and generated to charge the batteries, okay? When you look at the platforms, you can see on the right side that we've got a double extension platform, whereas on the left we have a single extension platform. Sometimes they're manual, sometimes they're automatic, meaning that they're going to be driven through, or operated rather, through the controls. You'd have an additional toggle. When we focus on booms, the telescopic boom, so that means it's a straight boom, you'll see XC now appear on some of the machines. And what that means, it will give you extra capacity in terms of safe working load. But there is a catch to this. If you're going to put more in the platform, then naturally then your heights are going to be reduced then. So there will always be guidelines then through your specification sheet in terms of if you're able to put extra capacity of weight into the platform, but certainly look at the working envelope on an extra capacity that would be reduced then of movement of the actual platform whilst elevated. But again, I can't emphasize this enough that, you know, when you're doing your site surveys, certainly get the rental companies involved. They are experts and they have a lot of the tools to help you with your risk assessment. We have two types of booms which we work with. So the booms, the first one was a straight boom, whereas the articulating boom is dedicated and designed for up and over buildings or obstructions, and it gives us extra features, which actually means that we have extra controls then inside the panel and at the ground. The ground is important for pre-use inspections. So where we have on the screen there, for an example, we have a Z 6037 FE. Okay, so Z would indicate that it's an articulated boom. Okay, so that would be the lifting element. The 60 would indicate the platform height. The 37 is outreach, and then we've got FE for fuel electric. Okay, but the other abbreviations then, if you see N on the actual machine on the dimensions, that would indicate that the chassis is narrow. So perhaps that you're working in a confined space, but you still need to get and reach 60 feet with 37 feet outreach. Then we would be talking to the rental provider that we would expect the chassis to be narrow. The jib is a fantastic piece of equipment. It's kind of another 1 or just over 1 meter of lifting element. So what that means is that, again, if you're moving into a confined space, by having a jib on your platform or on the lifting element, it can help you position that platform nice and comfortable to carry out some work activity. As you can see that we have J for jib, And then RJ is different. RJ is rotating jib. So that means that the jib would actually move. So you have a turntable on the platform, but you also have a rotating component on the jib also. So again, we're back to DC, RT, IC. We have BI, which is BI energy, okay, which is focused on the battery powered. And then we have X comes in for the chassis style, okay. Now I'm going to take us back to the headaches which we have as safety professionals. Soft ground and even ground and slopes. Construction projects are never straightforward. They're never straightforward because we have areas of concerns, certainly where machines get caught, they get stuck, and generally it's because the machine has become the wrong piece of equipment for that particular that particular setup. So certainly focus on the ground conditions. I have some fantastic tools here which can help you. And what I like about it is free of cost. There's no charge there. Everything is accessible on the IPAF website. So the first step is to make sure that we have the right wheels or tires rather for the project and for the use of the equipment. This is very important. We have solid tires, we have foam-filled tires, and we have pneumatic tires. They all do different jobs. A pneumatic tire has a disadvantage of punctures, but it has a great advantage of giving you better grip. Okay, if you think of a finished flooring, for an example, you know, a pneumatic tire is going to grip that floor far better than a solid or a foam-filled tire. But like I say, the disadvantage is we're encouraging punctures to come, and rental companies will give you a headache then because they don't like coming out for punctures. So, you know, we must really focus on the type of tires which we're going to use with our elevating work platforms. Some are marking, some are non-marking. Okay, on the bottom right, you can see that we have tracks. Sometimes the track will cover the whole chassis, or it could be an individual track over the single drive shafts on replacing the wheels. These kind of machines are dedicated for real tough, soft ground and even ground, obviously. So again, it focuses on, you know, your planning, if you like, of the machines coming onto your projects. The run of the mill, if it's indoors, we see a grey tyre on it, it means it's a solid tyre and it's certainly non-marking. But there are other tyres available. We have tarmac tyres, we have rough terrain. We then filter it through as pneumatic, foam-filled and solid. The disadvantage of a solid tyre is going to be heavier. So now we've got to think about the actual weight, where the position on the platform is going to be. Another indicator, if you look on the left, we've got an S65. So that would mean that it's a S stands for straight. Okay, 65 is 65 feet up to the platform. And then XC, it gives you the opportunity for, extra capacity. Okay, very straightforward. Onto the right, we've now jumped and we've gone to a far taller machine. Okay, this time we're looking at a SX. So S would be straight, so it's a straight single lift. X is the chassis design, and it's now become a 135. So that means it's going to lift us 135 feet to the platform height, the maximum platform height. The difference which you can see now, which is highlighted, is the tires. The tires have changed. So with the Genie brands, I think it's anything from 125 foot, then you will not see a pneumatic tire fitted to these machines. And naturally, it's the sheer weight of the elevating work platforms, because you can imagine having a pneumatic tire on a very tall boom type machine, the potential risks and hazards if you had a puncture or if you lost some pressure in the one tire, how much impact that would affect then the person in the platform. So please focus on your data plates, because as you can see that they can be different. So make sure that this is part of your initial setup and certainly risk assessment. So just a couple of key areas of tyres. Like I say, a lot of questions always come in is wear and tear of tyres. If it's a solid tyre, what's the divide where, you know, can we still use it? Can we not? There's a few ways to look at this. I think certainly we have to think if it's affecting the drive and stability of the machine, then it needs to be questioned. But don't forget, when we look at the chassis and the measurements, the calculations from floor to platform height, everything, it's like if any of you guys deal in scaffolding, you would hear the terminology of the narrowest base dimension affects the height of the structure. And it's the same concept with elevating work platforms. You know, we measure from the width of the chassis, meaning from the wheels. See, the actual tire design also, don't forget that the tires will also play a role of ballast weight with that particular type of unit. But can you imagine if I was to shave, you know, 8 inches, 4 inches of tire on a solid tire off your platform, you know, how much, you must ask yourself then, how much does that affect your stability in that platform? So like I say, you know, naturally a lot of this must be cleared through the rental perspective. But I think as safety professionals, we should be alert and we should be aware, you know, because surely if we have a narrow base and we're still raising to substantial heights, platform movement, we now have a potential risk of tip over. See, when a machine tips over, everybody tends to go for overload, but sometimes it's not overload. Sometimes there's a few areas of concerns which we need to address. When we start looking at driving on slopes and even ground, you know, I think that what we've got to do is focus on the data plate, follow it through to the manufacturer's instruction manual, okay, and then indicate, excuse me, on, you know, what position are we driving? Are we driving into the slope? Is it a negative or a positive side? You know, and because that would have impact also, because naturally your gradients are changing and your platform positioning is changing. So for an example, it might say 4 degrees or 40%, you know, as a gradient, but that would be driving up. If you're driving on the side, it may change. It may reduce to 30. It may even reduce to 20. Or if you're driving down the slope, you know, again, these factors should be implemented into your risk assessment and let's call it white paper documents, because we need to cover every single angle of, you know, the movement of this type of platform and be alert of the project which we're working on. If I then push into, we call it maintenance, but certainly we'd be asking questions of the inspection procedure. You know, for an example, we're on a Q38, we must test the turntable level sensor, you know, this is meant to be done at a set procedure. As you can see on the slide that Jeannie have indicated every quarter that this should be checked and tested. You know, again, we focus back onto the slopes. Again, there's a procedure. You see, we have a tilt sensor fitted to the machine. The tilt sensor will be 2 types. One, there will be a manual type. So it's like a spring-loaded cone with a spirit level bubble on the top. And the idea is that the moment that that bubble is moving, as you're driving over uneven ground, it's then kind of sending a message then to the machine through the system. And the idea is that if we approach something too steep, then we need to do something about it. And we would hope that, you know, the machine would then stop before we get into the hazard position. But you see, even on as a pre-use inspection as an operator, even if you're just pushing the spring-loaded cone forward to check whether that alert is going to happen, you're not actually taking a reading of the tilt sensor. You're only checking that it's active and it's functionable. So then we have to take this back to the rental provider then to make sure that they're actually carrying out their full inspections. The other type of tilt sensor is it's covered, so you cannot touch it. You cannot certainly play around with it. And the idea is when it becomes a digital tilt sensor, it means that you physically got to drive this machine into the set slopes, and then it would trigger off then to indicate that it's going to send that message then back to the operator. There's no words on this, or no voice on this, but this is a real incident, guys. This is a long time ago. The video's been out a while. You can see in the screen, and it came out it was in 2007. This one's in the UK. The construction site is in Nottingham city centre. Focus on the time. So it's a busy city centre. It's afternoon time, a lot of people and traffic. And as you can see in a second, here he comes, the actual machine has taken a turn for the worst. Okay. Amazingly, there was no fatalities. There was just broken bones, amazingly. But it could have been far worse. I'm guessing that height is around 60 feet. So then we start our investigation, you know, who's at fault, what could we have done to prevent this, and so on. So I think that we have a clear message when we teach operators, and the message is always walk the route. Think of housekeeping. I'm sure that's one of your biggest headaches, but certainly think of housekeeping. And the operator of this machine should have done that, because when we look at the next slide, I know it's a construction project, but there was a manhole there and we should have avoided it. You know, the weight of that machine is far too heavy for that manhole. So which then indicates then that the machine just drove straight over it, and naturally that it took a turn for the worst. So like I say, planning is so important. On the IPAF operator training module, we do emphasize that the operator has responsibilities also. That's why they come for training. Again, when you look closely on this this image on the right-hand side, you can see that the operator is at the ground. He sat on the wheel, and there's two workmen then in the platform. A big no-no. You must never use the ground controls to operate the machine. The ground controls are there for emergency descent and function tests. That's it. Not for operating procedure. So I'm going to quickly take you through a few slides. It certainly won't take us too long, but there's some great tools here for you as safety professionals. So the website is ipaf.org, and go straight into tools and resources, because I'm going to help you understand the spreader pads of if we're using outriggers on soft ground, on how do we read it. So we just click on the website, on the portal, tools and resources is what we're after. And then we're searching for spreader pad calculator. You can do it on your phone or on the laptop, the tablet, or the PC. Okay, so once we flag up spreader pad calculator, okay, it'll ask you a few questions. It's about 10 clicks and then you have the answer. So before we begin, we need to have direction. So we need to understand what's the ground pressure, what pressure is coming from the outrigger, and once it meets the ground, we need to make sure that it's going to be stable. Okay. Decide which outrigger you have. There's a lot of features where that on the left then is going to be fitted to the machine. In the middle or the left side of the screen, you can see that we've got indicators and where do I find the maximum load per outrigger, because one of the questions on the spreader pad calculator will ask you for the outrigger load. Okay, and that's where you will find it on the outrigger foot or the leg. It will also ask you about the actual ground. Is it solid ground? Is it gravel? Is it sand? If you're still not sure, as you can see that it gives us images, and that's far better for me. And then once I click on the image, then I will click it forward, and then it's giving me a dimension then of what size, minimum size my spreader pad must be. Okay, so they don't actually tell us where to get it and so on, but it does give us some good indicators of working in soft ground conditions. When we then flip it then back to the divide of familiarization and training, training has always been out there and familiarization has always been out there. Familiarization is not training, it's familiarizing yourself with the controls. Training is when we test somebody and make sure they're competent to actually operate the machine. And that is written right across the board, whether it's an ANSI standard or whether it's into a European standard. Just a few divides of different types of training. So as I say, familiarization, as you can see, is quite straightforward. It's not training. We do cross over on a few things. Familiarization, we would expect to know the emergency descent, and we would expect to understand how to do a function test, and it should reduce in operator error. TPA is third-party assessment. As you can see, that really doesn't help the operator or the management team. I'm really pleased. I've done a lot of work with different languages and translations. We're on around 28 different languages worldwide, but for our regions, the courses are available in Hindi, Punjabi, I must say English also, and Arabic is coming. We just signed Arabic off, and Bengali will be available also. So what we're trying to do is listen to the contractor and follow the contractor's demands, because it's important that the messages are sent out to the workforce. This is an interesting slide, guys. The training which IPAF deliver, it's under ISO 18878. Look at the content, 10% of MEWP operational. The rest is about the MEWP categories, understanding the lifting elements, focusing on the risk management. We would talk about in-country regulations, requirements, structural parts, safe operating methods. So that's the sequence of lift. So it's very important that we get this divide right. Naturally, we would test the operator because he needs to be competent, but there's a lot of support there for the operator. And when we go back into different languages, this is becoming perfect for us now. And we're kind of filtering between the divide of certainly a theory session in the classroom and the practical. Interesting short video here, guys. Look at the red where the platform is moving, how it's now indicating on where the pressure points are of carrying or bearing the weight of the machine. So I mentioned earlier on, some of you guys would use a 180-foot boom lift. That's probably weighing in between 22 and 25 ton. So these red indicators are carrying up to 80% of that chassis weight. So think about your ground, how your ground is affected, and make sure you plan it through your risk management. Interesting slide also, short video, safe working load. Some machines will be designed for indoors, some will be designed for outdoors. Yes, there are decals indicating, and if you look at the data plates on the machine, it will also tell us if it's an indoor or an outdoor machine. Again, we're back to the standard of equipment. So familiarization, it's all about functions and features. So it would be a visual, but also the function checks would be for emergency controls, safety devices, and anything specific for that particular brand and model number of the machine. In terms of inspections, this goes on forever. We're actually running workshops the last Tuesday of every month for third-party inspection companies at the moment. We have an audience of around 610 registered engineers. They don't all come to the workshops. It's optional, it's free. They don't have to join us, but we try and help them in their pathway when they're inspecting this type of machines. and ask questions to the owners, you know, more questions to making sure that the actual Elevate and Work platform is fit for purpose. So when it arrives at your project, we know the history of these things. There are also standards for rental companies. We've had IPAF Rental Plus for a long time. If you think of ISO standard for management systems, we have an IPAF Rental Plus, and we encourage rental companies to join this, or at least have their own system, because this means that they have a good management system of maintaining and certainly renting the machines out to the user. We are very passionate about Rental Plus because it certainly adds value then to your projects. Maybe that this would be something which, you know, the project should be looking at, is who's renting the machines to our sites and what's the standard of equipment coming to the site. What you don't want is, you know, we're saying we're going to rely on an emergency descent system, but yet when we go to use it, we find it doesn't work. So very interesting, I think, in terms of you know, making sure we're having the right equipment delivered from the supplier. Okay, so that takes me to the end of my presentation, guys. I'm hoping we don't have too many questions. So I will just stop sharing for a minute.
Yeah, thank you, dear Jason. In the meantime, I'm going to post a link which contains the quiz so that people will be participating in that quiz, and they will be asking questions also to you directly.
Okay.
Yeah, dear participants, the link is posted in the chat box. Okay, you can click on that and you can participate in the quiz. Automated certificate will be generated, and the top 5 quickly answered participants will be announced before the end of the session. Okay, if you have any questions, you can carry on now. The floor is open for question and answers.
I'm sure we don't have any questions.
No, there is a gentleman, our advisory committee member, Mr. Ashok Garlapati, raised his hand. Let me unmute him.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Ramana. Hello, Jason, how are you?
Very well, Mr. Ashok. How are you doing?
Good. Actually, I was having a BCSP call until 8 p.m. our time. So I just joined 15 minutes back. I just want to have a question to you. Under this pandemic situation, whether IPAF have introduced any virtual training courses where our members can get a benefit out of it?
Yeah, it's quite straightforward. We have seriously been looking at this, obviously, as everybody has. So there are e-learning programs available for 2 modules. One is for the operator, and one is for the HSE professional. If I'm honest with you,
very good.
Professional, the MEWP manager, it's excellent. You will enjoy it. It's a good study platform.
Okay.
So yes,
very good. Excellent.
We can run remote sessions also like this for the class, but naturally the practical would stay, which we would need to address that then. But there are e-learning programs available and remote sessions available.
Excellent. Thank you, Jason.
I have to apologize.
I'm sure, Mr.
Because I seen Mr. Ashok's hand up, and then I realized that it was yourself speaking.
Yes. It's me only. Yeah, I'm sure Mr. Rishi is in touch with you regarding our upcoming award program. Jason?
Yeah, go on, sorry.
Yeah, Mr. Rishi, our chapter senior executive, is in touch with you regarding our upcoming award program. This is a GCC Excellence Program, which you have been participating earlier.
Yes.
So that's also coming up. So he will be in touch with you.
I made a note of it, so I will help.
Yes, certainly. Yes, thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
Ramana, can I raise my question?
Yes, but the image what you have shared, I told you to send through email because I don't have.
No
camera,
problem.
mobile.
I can ask him. I can ask him by mobile.
Yeah, please go ahead. Yeah.
So thanks for Mr. James wrote very nice presentation.
Thank you.
Yeah, my question is regarding the machine 1B and 3B. You know, your H1 notes says about to utilize the short lanyard.
Sorry, I didn't catch that. Go on.
No, as per your IPF classification, 1B and 3B machines, static boom and mobile boom machines, your institute advising to use short lanyard, like this one.
Yes,
full body
correct.
harness with a short lanyard.
Yes.
Yeah, this is actually, I like this. I'm agree your recommendation, but I couldn't find any international standard advising this short lanyard. This is a big challenging for me to implement in my project site. Can you advise?
I can forward you some data in relation to the standards of the harness. But I think what you have to be aware of is a longer lanyard, so a longer tail of the harness will create more hazards and more risks. So I can share. I have some documents I can share with you, which will help you for any risk management documents. But the short lanyard will reduce the risk of the body falling out of the platform.
Yes, I am agree, sir. I am agree that we have to use short lanyard, but there was no international standard recommending to use this short lanyard because the different manufacturer have a different anchoring point. Normally, if you go the operator
well, if the machine is an ANSI standard machine, it'll be an ANSI standards A92. Or if it's an EN280 machine, a European manufactured machine, it would be in the specific standard. Then what IPAF have is guidance of wearing the correct PPE. Excuse me, for that type of application.
Okay. Thanks for reply. Thank you, Ramana. Thanks. Yeah.
Thank you, Jason, for answering this question raised by participants. And there are too many congratulatory messages that the message was very well received and people like your excellent presentation.
Thank you. It's a pleasure, as I mentioned
yes,
before.
You have already won heart of the HSE professionals, and they will.
We need you guys. We need you guys.
Correct. Yes. Thank you, Mr. Jason, making it very interesting itself. Ramana, if we are ready with the quiz report, we can share. And see, I can see the excitement of the participant. We started with 50 and it reached to 95 and plus. You are
Give me
right
one
now.
more minute. Give me one more minute. In the meantime, you can explain about our upcoming events.
Those who have just joined us, there is a program for tomorrow, Global OSA 101. Still, there are few seats available. Those who wish to join us, they can contact our office executive on 50941075. 50941075. Or you can send your email. We have just posted that details on chat box.
Hello.
And there are a few more training will be coming in March itself. As we have mentioned and announced very clearly that ASSP Kuwait Club, Toastmaster Club is also there. Those who want to see for better presentation and leadership skill, they can join us free. We are meeting 1st and 3rd of Saturday. Please look into the possibility and you can be a part of the great journey along with us. So these are some of the benefits we are offering to the member. So avail this opportunity. Those who has participated in quiz competition, definitely they will be getting their certificate of participation in that their email. So you need to be a little patient. Once the meeting is over, it will be reaching to you.
Yeah, just a minute, I'm sharing. I'm sharing it, just.
Great.
Did you get it?
Yeah, this is felicitation to the our speaker, Wood, Regional Manager, IPF. On behalf of ASSP KC, please acknowledge this token of appreciation, Mr. Jason. Mr. Jason?
Yeah, sorry. I am still here.
Please accept our small token of appreciation to run this session as felicitation to Mr. Jason Wood, Manager, Regional Manager, IPF. You will be getting the same certificate in your email.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It will stay in the IPAF office in Dubai.
Great. And you are partner in our future GCC award itself. So thank you for your support.
It's likewise.
Announce that, yes.
Sorry for that, Secretary Ji.
Yep, go ahead.
I was a little bit quick in operating the system.
Not a problem, that's fine.
These are the quiz winners. Yeah. These are the quick quiz winners, and the first winner is Mr. Manju Rasurdar. As usual, he's participating in all the technical meets and he's winning.
He is very consistent, Mr. Manju Rasurdar. It is very good to see you all the time. Great. Congratulations again.
Will you? Or,
go ahead.
Yeah, okay. The second winner is Mr. Nadeem Sheikh Mohammed Kajikar. Congratulations, Mr. Nadeem. Third winner, Saransh Acharya. Congratulations, Mr. Saransh Acharya. Fourth winner, Iqbal Ahmad Sheikh Ansari. Congratulations, Mr. Iqbal Ahmad Sheikh Ansari. Fifth winner, Syed Abu Tahir. Congratulations, Mr. Syed Abu Tahir. That's it.
That's it. Okay. If our Vice President, Mr. Majruddin Sheikh is there, so he can do the honor of closing remark. Mr. Majruddin Sheikh. Ramana, can you see if it is he around us?
I think no. You can conclude.
No problem. You can see that someone has raised hand before I conclude it.
Some Galaxy A50. There is no name mentioned here.
Okay, so okay, I can see it. Not a problem. Those who are still looking for some question, they can post it, and we will try to redress it later on once this training session is over. But on behalf of Vice President, I will give you a closing remarks. Those who have participated today, thank you for your time and attention as well. That it was a great learning for all of us who has attended in Jason session, supported by IPEF, and definitely it will be raising awareness among safe practices while working at height, safe and effective use of MEWP, mobile elevated working platform limitation. And it goes a long way. We all are using this similar type of equipment, and it will be always a concern to minimize the risk. So thank you for all attending this session, and we look forward for future collaboration and future participation. Especially thank you, Mr. Jason, for sparing time. And thank you all our mentors and advisory committee and executive members and our office staff to make this happen a reality. So we will manage with the time itself. The program will be open for another 5 minutes. Those who want to do a little networking with our chapter staff itself for a future event or something. Thank you, Mr. Jason, again. And thank you all participants who has been in this journey of learning through webinar. Thank you, Mr. Jason Wood.
Thank you. Can I just say one thing before I disappear?
Go ahead. Yeah.
That you have 6 winners of the quiz, correct?
Yeah.
Five.
Can you do me one thing? Can you arrange their email addresses, and I will forward them a free link for the MEWPs for Managers e-learning program.
That's Ramana. Please take a note and share that email links to the 5 participants who has responded in very quickest time itself.
Sure, Mr. Jason.
Excellent.
Okay,
We'll be in touch, and I will forward the link on, and it's free of cost. They'll enjoy it.
Yes,
Okay.
Sure. And in fact, you have
Thank you.
given us your link, and really it will be useful stuff in that. We will definitely see.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jain. Thank you. Ramana, the meeting is
you.
officially will be concluded in 5 minutes, and I can see Jahid Thakur has raised something. Jahid, do you want to say something?
No, Sardar, just a reminder about tomorrow's training program. If any one of members wants to join Global OSA training and take benefit of these holidays, and the Toastmaster Club, just a brief once again request that free of cost we had allowed for all our members. So we seek their support and active participation.
Yes, I did it few minutes before.
Thank you. Thank you, Sardar.
Thank you. Thank you, President, for reminding us. Thank you all, and good night from Chapter Secretary. Ramana is still there. Those who want to do a little networking, please join hand with Ramana for future communication and other modality if you want to. Mr. Ramana?
Yes, Safdarji, I'm with you.
Yes, please take a lead on networking for 5 minutes.
Thank you,
Yes,
Safdarji.
okay. Thank
I'll
you.
take care of it from
Thank
now. Some questions are there, like 17th February will be available on YouTube. Somebody is asking. I request everyone to go through our YouTube channel, and you can find all our webinars and technical meets over there. Okay.
Hello. Hello, Ramanaji.
Hello. Is it audible now?
Oh, yeah, now okay. If otherwise, if you
Yeah,
give
I
permission, we
got
can end. I
disconnected.
think you have network issue also.
We'll close.
Yeah,
Yeah, we will
okay.
close the meeting. Yes, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you all for
Okay, okay.
joining. We are going to close the meeting now. And if you have any queries, you can send it to info@kuwait.assp.org. And our WhatsApp is there, and you can always, we'll be available 24 hours. Okay. So just send your queries through WhatsApp also. It's not a matter. Thank you. We'll close the meeting. Sorry for the inconvenience. Today we had faced a lot of network issues.